What's going on, guys? I want to talk about 100% of food production, the reality of it. And I think that when I first started getting into this, I was kind of fooled and I didn't really do the math and everything. So I wanted to just kind of skim over today and let's talk about the reality of producing 100% of your food. The very first thing in my experience is eating full meals from one species. And what I found is that certain things like broccoli, kales, and things like that, if I filled up on it, right, an entire meal, I've just been noticing that it didn't make me feel very good. Spinach, same thing, leaving that I forget what they call it. It's this lining inside your mouth. And my body was basically saying, no, that's enough, right? I ate a whole entire head of cauliflower, broccoli, and same thing. There's just something in the brassicas, I think, and other things as well, that where too much of one thing, it just doesn't seem good enough. But the reason I wanted to bring this up, and I think that you guys should experiment as well, some stuff will give you diarrhea, but if we're producing 100% of our own food, sometimes we're fooled. And that was my biggest realization, was that I don't know if I could live off kale and these vegetables alone. If you just start eating just full-blown kale and tomatoes and things like that, some stuff won't agree with your body. You'll actually get a tummy upset and you'll actually get, like I said, diarrhea. Maybe it's cleansing you out. I don't know. But what I've come to conclusion is a lot of each different individual things, like a lot of different stuff, a little bit of different things all over the place. Just pick yourself a little bit of kale, a little bit of arugula, a little bit of cabbage, right? Anybody knows if you've ate a whole head of cabbage, you kind of know what happens after that, right? You are a gas factory. So I thought I would bring that up. I found that very, very interesting. Fruit on the other hand, seems to be very good. I don't know about your blood sugar levels and stuff. You surviving a lot off of fruit, but things to take in consideration. Next I have on here is the time needed. Where's the time going to come from? And when I talk about this, it's keeping up with the money for all infrastructure, tools, rent, mortgage, property tax, water, amendments for your food, internet, fuel, solar panels, batteries. The list goes on and on and on. A lot of this stuff is infrastructure. Where's the money going to come to pay the rent? If you're renting a home, where's the money going to come from for the mortgage if you've pulled out a mortgage on that land? Where's the rent, or where's the property taxes going to come if you've even owned your property free and clear? So to go and produce a lot of your own food, your shadow should be on your garden and over your animals all the time. You need to be there. Many things could go bad. So how do we do this? How do we realistically make this successful? And the way I look at it is that it takes a lot of time. I think that one way is what a lot of people are doing is actually making their business their sustenance, right? Your medicine should be your food should be your medicine. Your money comes from the food you eat, right? And, and the money you make helps you support yourself making the food that you eat. I don't know if I said that backwards there, right? But you get what the gist hopefully here. So you're getting paid to literally produce your own food. Now, whether that's on YouTube, whether that's on a podcast, whether that's selling to farmers markets or to your community, a CSA or something like that. I think that is the key and that is the way. But regardless, producing 100% I think is almost impossible, because we need to look at such things too as enough land. How much land does it take? In my research, I've seen about an acre per person, and that's really going for it hardcore. That's utilizing everything. I mean, things stacked like rabbits stacked on top of ducks, and for meat production and all of those kind of things. And so it seems to me, and I haven't done this experience myself, that about an acre per person. But then we need to take in consideration letting the land rest. We need the land to be able to take a break. You can't just keep raping it, right? You can't just keep planting stuff year round, every season like you've lived in California or Florida. You can't just put corn and beans and watermelons and carrots and all that. You got to let that land just kind of rest a little bit so the microbiology and everything, in my opinion anyways, can have its nap, basically. And then there's space for nature. And I think a lot of people don't understand that nature actually is your friend. And without it, if you keep spraying pesticides and you kill off the good bugs and the bad bugs, you basically kill off everything. That stuff sinks in the ground. It's actually poisoning the people who are eating the food. The microbiology is getting ruined. By not letting nature take over sometimes too, we get a lot of runoff, a lot of export of our topsoil is one of the hugest things we export in the United States. And that's our topsoil just when it rains, washing down into rivers and out into like the Gulf of Mexico, out into the Pacific Ocean or the Atlantic. And guys, it's horrific. It's horrific. We need to get some sort of sustainability there because desertification of the land has happened before, in my opinion, and it could happen again. And we want to get this thing into like a perpetual motion style where we utilize nature and letting things rest and things like that, become part of the land, right? The land is us, we are the land, to let it rejuvenate itself and let it keep going. So that way we can keep producing forever. But if we keep doing the monoculture and the things that we're doing right now, that's not going to be the case, right? It's already happening right now. We're just we're raping too much of the land. So yeah, a lot of things, like I said, going back to the infrastructure, keeping up with the money for all of these things and the time, where do we get that? It's a very difficult thing, I think, as far as leaving areas for nature as well. What do we do when we have downtime as far as land management, right? As far as how much land do you actually need? So in my book, what we learn from animals, keeping animals from people such as Joel Salatin, doing polyculture and all those kind of things, is that they have paddocks. So you can imagine like a checkerboard where one year you would grow on, say, an acre, maybe utilize the heck out of it, and then as you're growing that season, the other acre is just left fallow. It's just going to sit there. So having enough land, whether you're spin farming, which is utilizing somebody else's land that they own, and you grow food on it with some equal for value exchange, whatever you're doing, to calculate that amount of land per person. So when I think about, in my mind, I would say about 2 acres per person would probably be ideal. And we don't have time to go in full details, but we want to talk about trees, right? We want to talk about plants and animals, and we also want to talk about the wildlife and nature to be able to give to it. So I would say probably about 2.5 acres when I add in for nature. Just an area, and I guess I should finish up on that, just an area where you lay fallow, you never ever touch, right? You can plant some indigenous weeds or trees and plants there. And what's going to happen is things such as ladybugs, praying mantises and stuff like that, your good predators, are going to lay eggs. The butterflies, the pollinators, stuff, maybe even the bees, they're all going to come around because they know that there's flowers. They know that there's some life, there's like some action going on, right? Bugs are smart. They're going to come in and say, well, every year we come here, this person is planting a bunch of kale that's infested in cabbages with aphids. And these things are yummy, delicious, sweet little honeydew balls of muchness. So they go in, and their babies have something to live on. So yes, we're going to set up camp here, and every year that we get more and more birds and bugs and things like that coming to actually help you. And yes, we do have bad things, but nature has a balance to where it will equalize everything for you to where you don't have to spray the pesticides and herbicides and things like that. Take a look at the podcast we did with Joseph Lofthouse. Take a look at Mark Sheffer's New Forest Farms. Look at a lot of this permaculture things that are actually in place, not just talking about it. Things have actually regulated themselves and people don't have to do anything about it anymore. And that's the beauty of natural farming, natural living, natural mentality, the mindset for us to produce 100% of our own food, I think, to get at least close to it. So we're going to do 100%. I don't know. There's such things as salt, right, that I don't think that you can produce. Oil, unless you have an oil press. There's a lot of money we have to consider. Do we want internet? Do you want a phone? I love having my phone. I love having internet. I love having my vehicle here. I like to get to and fro. It's good for emergencies. It's good for my life. I live in it sometimes with my children on mini retirements. We'll live in this truck for about a month, 2 months, 3 months, and just travel wherever we want. But all of these things take maintenance. All these things need infrastructure, tires, batteries, right? The solar panel, mortgage, rent, all of these things could catch up. And I think we're in a day and age, I guess I want to end with, where they've made it, we've all designed our lives. This whole system's been designed to where we don't have the time to do this anymore. So 100% of our food production, I think, is very difficult. I don't think it's impossible, but I think it is. It's going to be a lot of work and a lot of planning, and I would love to give it my all to figure out what I can do to get as close to 100% as possible in the future. And that's what I got for you guys today.